Hi, good morning.
Morning, everyone. Leslie Jones, attorney.
And we're waiting for Maria Esposito from Citizens Bank, and here she is.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. How are
Hi.
you?
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good.
All good today. Yeah, very nice. Nice day out. So today we're going to speak about buying and selling in the fall of 2024, and there are many aspects to it. Uh, you would like, Marie, you want to start, and we can all chime in
Sure.
if you. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, look, the most exciting part on the lending side, and I think this is exciting for anybody that's buying too, is that interest rates are at a 15-month low. And it still feels as though they are continuing, like they're downward. The downward trend is still in play,
Right.
right? There doesn't seem to be that feeling in the air that like, oh, okay, well, they're only here momentarily and they could spike back up. So what we've seen is a couple of things. One is that those people that were already in the market are either continuing to they either their buying power has increased, right, because
Right.
interest rates have come down. But then I was also speaking with some real estate agents last night that were saying that they're starting to see more clients that were only closing cash, right, and
Right.
saying, oh, you know what, maybe I'm not going to use all of my cash. Like, they could still close all cash, but now they're looking to say, all right, you know what, I can deal with rates that are in the fives. And
Right.
maybe it's more, maybe at the end of the day, it's better for me to go ahead and finance some and keep some of that cash, whether it's to, buy a bigger home, or to renovate it, or just to
Right.
have that liquidity in the bank, right? That
Right.
safety.
Right. I think though, as the rates come down, I think more buyers. I think a lot of people held off
Yeah.
buying, and for the last few months because they were kind of like, they couldn't believe where the interest rates was, so they really held off. They're on the sidelines. But I think that as interest rates come down, you'll have the more serious buyer
Yeah.
buying, as well as
Yeah.
more people coming into the market,
And
which I
more
think
and
is
more people, I think, will sell now too, right?
right.
I've seen that just this week with some of my
Right.
past clients who said, okay, I found I really need a bigger home. I didn't want to make any move when rates were in the sevens,
Right.
but I feel like, now if I can get, a rate in this range, now I'm okay to sell my home. So that brings another home back onto the market, right?
Well, I think that really the crux of the market going forward is really the amount of inventory
Yeah.
that will be hitting the market. And I think as the rates come down, more sellers, as you said, will jump into the market and say now's the time to sell because they just may not want to, especially if they're baby boomers or they just really don't need school systems. So they may really put, their homes on the market. But I
Right.
do think if you're thinking of selling now, I think it's really critical because I am seeing houses stay on the market longer,
Right.
especially in the last month. I think it's really critical to price it correctly
Right.
and to really
Always.
spruce it up and make sure, any problems, anything that's glaring should be addressed before you put it on the market. Because
Yeah.
I think that that's very important today, is really pricing it because I'm seeing kind of a shift in the market where it's not a seller's market anymore across the board.
Right.
I mean, I think that really also depends on the town and the municipality you're in, but it's definitely becoming more of a buyer's friendly market
Hmm.
in many cases. So I think it's important for the seller to really look at their property and price it correctly and also spruce it up, stage it. I'm seeing a lot of staging,
Hmm.
a lot of painting of their homes. Um, Not necessarily to cover up problems, but really to give it a facelift
Yeah.
and to really look as good as it's going to look.
I would imagine also the timing, in the summer, everyone's like sort of very focused on the schools and when they can get in. I have a lot of that where everyone's sort of very careful on the timing. So now there's like less pressure. So people, sort of a different clientele is in the market for
In the
things. So
market. Yeah.
that's why it's like looking, someone who doesn't care about schools and timing and all that. So maybe, it's sort of a less pressurized market in that
I mean,
sense. I mean,
I bought my home in the fall, right? And I think too, that's another thing. I mean, Michelle, you could probably comment on this. I think we always talk about like the spring market,
Right.
but there's definitely a fall market because there's a bunch of people that like really don't want to do anything in the summer, right? Except vacation and,
Right.
have a summer
Right.
mentality. And then all of a sudden, Labor Day weekend is over. Even though
Yeah.
technically we're still in summer, I think until the 21st of
Right.
September,
Right.
it looks and it's already starting to feel like fall. And I think that like fall, there is a fall market, and a lot of people don't, may not realize that this is, there are a lot of people that come out of the woodwork after having maybe they were looking and then didn't find anything in the spring, took the summer off, and now they're like, okay, now let me get back on this again.
I agree. I also think that the political landscape, not to be political, but
Yeah.
really to address, from what I've been reading, that both sets of candidates are really concerned about the affordability
Yes.
and the housing market and the housing problems in this country, especially for the first-time home buyer.
Yes.
And they're trying to address it. I mean, I don't want to go into any specific issues, but they're both on both sides of the spectrum. They're really very concerned about affordability and the amount of homes on the market and the kinds of homes.
Yes.
So what I've read is that they're, without being very specific, because I'm not privy to really information, but generally that they're concerned about the first-time home buyer, maybe introducing some type of incentives for the first-time buyer, maybe looking at, I read something, but not specific, about transfer tax, rezoning certain areas, especially in New York City, to open up some, more residential properties by rezoning the areas or the repurposing of space. So
well, there's some more affordable housing that they probably are looking at, but none of us really know. And I don't think anything's going to happen till after.
Right.
Like
And I
that.
mean, listen, the whole affordability thing, I mean, it's a huge thing on the lending side too, right? I mean,
Right.
especially banks, we have a certain, we're regulated in that we have to do a certain amount of that business. And I think for the overall, the industry is under indexing on that because they're just, there isn't enough affordable housing that's out there. And I will tell you that, like just and I've been doing this for like 30 years, and at my company for 10 and a half years. And we have more incentives for first time home buyers that are available right now than
Right.
we ever have. Like we're trying to be so creative with, to drum up that market. But on the flip side of that, I think I saw a statistic. I'm trying to think of where I saw that. I'll if I find it after we post this, I'll try to link it to it. But where it said that like, I don't know, like 5 years ago, let's call it, there were maybe 6 markets in the country where $1 million was like the price entry point, right? And now that number has like more than quadrupled.
Right.
Like there's like 60 markets where that's it. So yeah, whoever gets into office, that's definitely an issue that they're going to have to tackle, right?
Right. Well, I think overall, though, aside from politics, aside, just going forward in 2024 and as we approach 2025, I think that from what I've read is that the market will be strong, especially if the inventory stays not the way it used to be pre-pandemic.
Right.
But will the growth or the prices or the amount of volume will not increase. Zillow predicts like 1%
Right.
of home values increasing over the next year. So it won't be the craziness and the increase in prices the way we've seen the last 2-3 years.
Right.
I think also a lot of that has to do with the where the area, the location of each home. So the
Right.
Northeast, surprisingly, has done the best of the whole in the whole country. So if you want to find good value, you may want to look at places like Florida, Texas, Tennessee, as opposed to the Northeast, which has been really the strongest in in the last year and going forward,
Right.
Good for us.
which is very good for us,
Yeah.
which is not complaining.
Right.
So it's
Right.
just really important to stay on top of the market and to really, look for new listings and new opportunities in the market.
Right.
Right. You're definitely learning all the programs that you have to offer for people who maybe are struggling to make a decision.
Right.
Right.
It'd be great to know all those programs so that we can, sort of when people make offers, we have that in mind. So, like I had one in the Bronx, I had no idea about that type of thing,
Right.
and the person got an incentive because of the location, and they were buying in a nice area in the Bronx,
Yeah.
and they qualified, and at another point, someone was a school teacher. They had some sort of incentive.
Yeah.
I see a lot of that. So
Listen, there's so much out there, and
Yeah.
listen, I'm not going to lie to you. It takes a lot of navigating through it. So, and I think it's on both ends. Like it's got to be you as the consumer, like the potential buyer doing research and whether that's online or speaking to multiple people at different lenders, right?
Right.
Because like we have some, I'm at Citizens, we have some product programs that are just proprietary for Citizens, and then Wells Fargo has theirs and Bank of America
Right.
has theirs. So you might qualify for one, but might not qualify for another. But ask
Right.
questions, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. And always be speaking with somebody who you think, who sounds knowledgeable too,
Right.
right? Because it's definitely not easy waters to navigate.
Right.
I don't have them all even at the tip of my tongue. I'm constantly like
right.
going to references,
Right.
to see, okay, let me see, do you qualify for this? No. Okay, let's go to the next one, and that sort
But
of
I
thing.
think you have to know also, like from my perspective, when I'm working with a client, if it's property specific or, sometimes certain properties will only fall into a certain category with the lending opportunities. So it's very important for them to do their research too,
Totally.
and need to understand what they want to achieve, so I can kind of point them or direct them to several people who may be able to help
Yeah.
them.
Right. Like even like physicians, a lot of like young
Right.
physicians are interested in buying and making enough to buy, but they're not,
At their level.
loaded.
Right.
So, some of these physicians programs are phenomenal, and
They are.
people don't know about it, and it's
Yeah.
sort of something, if you go to the right institution, they definitely
You can
have
put,
a lot of-
you can put a lot less money down, no PMI and things like that,
Right.
for sure. Yep.
Or even if you open a small account with that bank,
Yep.
they also offer incentives. So it's very important for a buyer to do
Yes.
the due diligence, right?
Yep.
And to really discuss their opportunity or their intentions, how long
Right.
they want to be in the property, et cetera, with the realtor, with the attorney, and with you, because that will also help position them in the right, with the right lending or the right mortgage. They're going to take a mortgage. So I think it's very important.
Yep. Absolutely.
But I think it'll be interesting going forward, seeing what happens with the upcoming elections.
Yeah.
I think that will also influence the market greatly. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to contact one of us, all of us. And we look forward to seeing you next week, and have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.